Welcome back in, y'all. We have a follow-up from our stream earlier today. We talked about Miles Kitselman missing practice, and it sounded like he was going to miss the rest of spring. For me, it wasn't a huge deal at the time, but we did just get some very unfortunate news that he had surgery on his chest muscle. So obviously that's a very serious thing. And number one, my heart goes out to him. He's in my thoughts. He's in my prayers. This is a guy that all of his teammates, all of his coaches have nothing but great things to say about him. We saw the way that he worked last season. I mean, it had an absolutely outstanding year. Comes back one more year, in his final year to help Tennessee win a national championship. And I think that 2025 would have been even better for Miles Kitselman. But all is not lost. He can still come back this season, and I do believe that he will. So I don't know exactly what his injury was. I just know that he had surgery on his chest. So it could be anywhere, like at the earliest 4 to 6 months. So, I would say around September-ish, but it could also go from 6 to 9 months, which would, bring him back right around playoff time. So obviously that is a huge blow to this team. For me, it's an even bigger blow to Miles Kitselman. So, again, he's in my thoughts. He's definitely in my prayers. But we will just kind of touch on what he meant to the team last season, where I think that he probably would have fit in on this team in 2025. And we'll talk about who needs to step up, what Tennessee might do a little bit differently to try to overcome a huge loss to our team. Please do make sure to like and subscribe. Let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, y'all. Let's talk about Miles Kitselman as a player. Number one, great size, 6'5", 260. You can see his numbers from last season. 22 catches, 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, 13.7 yards per catch. He also had a rushing touchdown versus UGA, who I hate. So that made him a personal hero of mine forever. So those things are really big. Just like looking at his numbers that he puts up. But outside of that, as a blocker, I think that that's the biggest thing. He was a punishing blocker. And really, whenever you think about why Tennessee went out to get Miles Kitselman, one of the wrinkles that we tried to implement before 2024 was to run more 12 personnel. And, bringing in him, bringing in Holden Stays. Obviously, we already had Ethan Davis. Those are guys that could do some different things, but we looked at Holden Stays as more of the, pass catching threat. We thought that Miles Kitselman would, maybe be more of like the blocking threat, even though as we broke down his film, you could tell that he could run his routes. You could tell that he could catch. So I wasn't too concerned about that. But I'm saying all those things just to say that he was going to be a huge part of Tennessee's offense moving forward. I feel like these numbers, I'm not going to necessarily say that they would have doubled, but they could have. Why? Because Tennessee has a lot of unproven wide receivers. He probably would have been a player that Tennessee leaned on significantly, especially running that pistol offense, because within the pistol, something that P and I haven't quite broken down yet, but, we'll give you another layer to it. Tight ends can come into the backfield and, play as a lead blocker, play as a running back. There's a lot of different gadgetry things that we could have done with Miles. So I absolutely hate it for him. And actually, we'll take a look at the season totals from Tennessee last season. We'll come down to all the receiving numbers, and you can see where Miles Kitselman kind of stacked up at. So he was second in touchdowns out of all of our pass catchers, right behind Dante Thornton. That should tell you a lot, man. Tennessee's losing a lot of proven, a lot of proven players from last season. And I'm curious exactly what we're going to do. I can say that it's possible that maybe Tennessee tries to go to the portal now to get a tight end. I think that that's possible. Now, we are very deep at that position. It's just a ton of youth. And actually, while we're talking about it, let's talk about Ethan Davis, because he's now the vet that can play. Right. And last season, first off, he also has very good size. He's 6'5". At this point, he's probably going to be about 260. He's close to that. But last year, 13 catches, 100 yards, scored 2 touchdowns. That's actually more than Holden Stays, 7.7 yards per catch. He's a guy that we could definitely still use as that gadget piece. I think he's going to work very well in that pistol formation. But he does have to work on being a lot more physical. Now that Miles Kitselman won't be able to play as much, for most of this season, we know that he's going to step up. At least I think that he's going to step up and be that, players coach. He's going to push Ethan Davis, and Ethan Davis is going to push himself. He's talked about, he knows that he needs to get more physical, but that's my concern. And that's why I'm saying if he doesn't show that physicality, then we will have to go out and get another tight end. At least I think so. Now we've got some other guys, obviously, we've got Cole, and Cole is going to be a redshirt freshman. Didn't play at all last season. He's kind of getting over his own little injury. It's probably not too serious, but he's going to have to be ready for us. And then behind that, we have 2 true freshmen. Love both of those guys. It's a great thing that they came in, at about playing weight. I think that physically they're probably pretty close to being ready. all those guys have to step up. They all have to grow up. There's no, I mean, they can't, like, we can't be, pampering these. They've got to get out there. They've got to play. We've got to throw them into the fire. And the scrimmage coming up on Monday, it's going to tell us a lot, I think, about what does the staff want to do as far as starting another tight end inside of the portal. Now, what can Tennessee do as far as maybe changing up some of the schemes? Because, like we said, we ran 12 personnel a lot last season. Most of the success that we had came out of 12 personnel. We can probably still run it, but I just think that it's going to have to look completely different than maybe what it did last season. Do you want to try to spread the field out even more now, with more wide receivers and with less tight ends? Maybe you only run some like one tight end sets, some zero tight end sets. We're going to have to think outside of the box to make sure that this whole thing can work well for us. And I still feel like Tennessee's going to try to go to the transfer portal to get another wide receiver. But now I think that it says, hey, we absolutely have to now. You don't really have as much leeway. At least I don't think that you do, unless you are just in love with these freshmen, with these young guys that are wide receivers. And if you're not, then you probably want to go get a vet at wide receiver. You might want to go get a vet at tight end as well, just to make sure. Now, I don't know that the staff will do that. That's just kind of what I think that they would do based off of what they've done before. But hey, maybe they say, look, we're going to trust these young guys. We're going to let them go out there and play, kind of like learn on the fly. I'm fine with that too, because I think that all those guys are ballers. But that's pretty much it for me with all of my thoughts on what Tennessee's going to do. I think that it's going to be really, really tough. Obviously, this is a huge loss. But I feel like we will get something figured out. We'll see how that looks over these next couple of weeks. But as always, y'all, thank you for tuning in. Please leave your thoughts with me down in the comments section. And also, please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And we will see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.